Just need to navigate a bit. Where is my slideshow? Okay, good. All right, so good morning, everybody. Welcome to Discover MSE this morning, and thank you very much for coming. I'm Yu Huang. I'm the new chair actually of the MSE department. I just started last summer. So yesterday we had a few faculty member and staff with me at the Discover Engineering Expo. And today we have a few more faculty members with us today. And we have Professor Bruce Dunn, who was the last chair and is now the associate dean for the research and physical resources in the engineering school. And we also have Professor Ya Hong. He's the vice chair for undergraduate studies in the department. And we have Professor Jimin Yang, who is the associate dean for international relation initiation and also online programs in the school. Right?
You might want to click the got it button on the screen. Do you see it?
Here? Oh, right.
Oh, you got it. Okay, we're good.
Okay, good. You're not seeing my toolbar, right? No. All right. So let me answer the question, but it seems the two students here probably know it already, but we got asked a lot yesterday, what is indeed material science and engineering, and we are, yes, the lesser known subject in the engineering school. So in material science and engineering, we study the behavior synthesis and applications of materials. And as Hugo has already touched upon it, is a really, in the essence, this is an interdisciplinary subject, and it's really broad. It covers a broad topics, and it actually drives many of the technology advancements, right? Oops, why is this not moving for me?
You know.
All right, so I got this slide from Bruce, who made the wonderful correlation between material science and the Marvel team. And when you look at them, they are actually a group of really nice advanced material scientists. Right, you have the super strong materials that they used in the fight. And there's conduction, and there is computational learning or AI learning, computational power to guide material design, biomaterials, and objects. How do you control and bend the light so you can have an invisible cloak, for example, or show. Certainly energy generation, nanoscience, and polymer science. And I just heard from my daughter that actually the Spider-Man, they went through three generations. The first generation, they used the natural made fiber, the spider silk. And in the later generation, they were able to use synthetic fibers and incorporate those into the outfit. And this is exactly what material scientists do, right? We take from the nature and the property and produce something similar or even better, right? So material science research is actually not new. It is the key driver for human society development, right? So in earlier days, the Stone Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age were actually defined by how the humankind were able to use or to produce materials for their applications, right? In modern days, we have gone through metallurgy, basically more or less for structural materials. And then we see the boom in semiconductor industry. This is also driven by our ability to produce highly pure silicon and the ability to dope them to really finely control concentration of dopants. Right? And starting in 21st century, it becomes more and more integration and functional materials. Right? So in the future, I think material science will continue to play an important role in all of the significant technology advancements, right? From all the way from the atomic level, nanometer scale, and to macro meter scale. There is production of materials, control of material properties, and also their functional integration with all different kinds of complex systems. Right, and these are actually really mirrored in the research that's ongoing in our department. We have a lot of fantastic faculty and their research that covering optical communication, biosensing, computational materials. And this is the aerogel that Kathleen mentioned. They can be super light, super strong, super insulating, and electronics, biomimetics, and whatnot. And this is the robotics that I always want to show from Dr. Pei's group. And we also have cultural material studies. So we're not just a bunch of nerds. All right, so the benefits you can have by coming to our department, we are smaller. And so we offer smaller class size. The students will have certainly more time to interact with faculty instructors and faculty advisors. And you have you can meet once each quarter with your advisor to talk about your academic life or your future plan once a quarter or more if you want. Oops. And we offer many scholarships for you to apply for, which is really recognition for the hard work and the excellence of our undergraduate students. And certainly you have the opportunity to participate in our cutting edge research. You can take 199 courses, you can do research for credit. And there's also plenty of summer and industrial internship that our students constantly take advantage of. So our department, although is smaller, on the smaller side, we have 16 core faculty members, but we are highly dynamic. As I said, we are at a really high energy state, recognized. Right, we have 2 NAE members with us in the core 16 faculty group. And we have 3 elective fellows for the MRS Research Society and the 3 highly cited researchers worldwide. And all of our newer or younger generation of faculty members, they are also the rising stars in their respective research field and subjects. Right? I just list here some of the awards and recognitions that they received just over the short 3 to 4 years when they are here with us at MSE. Right, so you certainly have a lot to choose from in terms of research, and you have the opportunity to interact with this vibrant group of scientists. And UCLA by itself is a really unique place because by joining UCLA, you have a very interactive and collaborative environment. We have collaborations and also co-lead classes with the South Campus that includes the physical science, engineering, and also health science. And some of our students can even take some of the classes in the North Campus if you are interested. And we are all here at really cozy environment campus. And that's actually the key for the students to get direct exposure to all different areas of our research here. And last but not the least, you have this wonderful Westwood Village. This is great for student social life. We have the premieres frequently at the Fox Theater here. And there are certainly numerous coffee shops, restaurants for the students to enjoy throughout their undergraduate life here. So I will end my presentation here and I'll be happy to take any questions if you may have some. Or if our faculty members have anything to add.
Our new admin, do you have any questions?
I guess something I was kind of wondering was like, I guess like the proportion of graduate students to undergraduate students.
The ratio is almost 1-to-1. I think we have slightly more graduate students than undergraduate students in our department. We have 120-ish, I suppose, undergraduate population, and the graduate population, master and PhD combined, fluctuates between 150 and 200.
Yeah, so you'll see them in some of your classes that have concurrent graduate scheduling, any lab that you join, and obviously walking around, they're not elusive.
Yeah, and that graduate population is split between both master's students and PhD students. So there's really 3 different classes of students that you'll see in the Mat Sci department.
Given the large population of graduate students in the department, how easy is it, I guess, to find undergraduate research opportunity?
It's pretty easy. We have a lot of labs. We'll get into that a little bit, even what Garrett and I do in research, and I'm sure some of the alumni will share what they have done. And there's plenty of faculty, like plenty to go around. Pretty much, it's not hard.
Yeah, you can get it as soon as your freshman year if you want it.
And then I would say actually having a larger body of graduate students is a plus for undergraduate research. Because typically the graduate students would be the one that work with you in the lab directly. So you actually have more opportunity by having a larger graduate body.
Yeah, every professor won't have the time to personally mentor you in every project you take on. So yeah, the graduate students take that on instead. So yeah, they'll serve as your mentors mostly in labs.
So Kyle, can you put up the first slide again, our schedule? I guess 10:30 to 11, do we move on to the next session?
I can get our student presentations going if you would like.
Yes, that would be Garrett.
Kara, take it away.
Yep. So hi, Garrett and I are here to talk about MSE student life at UCLA. So somehow the name banners or the image, et cetera, didn't clue you in. I'm Kara. Hi, I'm the incoming president for MRS.
And hi, my name is Garrett May, and I'm the outgoing president of MRS.
So we might say MRS and MSE interchangeably. MRS is just the club on campus that pretty much all MSE students are involved in. It stands for Materials Research Society. So it's much what it sounds. A lot of the aspects of our club involve materials research, and we're just an extracurricular club on campus. But being an MSE student, it's really great, as we mentioned, because it's a small major. So to me, I think it gives the best of both worlds because you're kind of in a small school vibe for your major, but you're on UCLA's campus, which has so many opportunities. I really can't stress that enough. So you do get the best of both worlds there. And in terms of MSE students, you can kind of find us everywhere, especially in leadership roles in a lot of technical projects and extracurriculars on campus. I find it surprising just how how far we permeate, but the outgoing and incoming president of Society of Women Engineers, both materials engineers. I was just president of an outreach organization on campus called Building Engineers and Mentors. And now I'm moving into MRS and many, many more, both in leadership and just general board position roles. So we're everywhere. We're small but mighty, I like to say. And we have a really, really collaborative environment. So we have a lot of study sessions that MRS hosts and just you can have with your friends in classes. You will always have friends in classes. I've had countless interesting conversations on just the research that myself and my peers are doing and the MSE topics that we found interesting in classes. So most importantly, we are a family and you'll really feel that in the department here. In terms of career opportunities, so MRS itself hosts some info sessions. You can see on the left, that's an info session for Mattel, the toy company. So you can imagine there's a lot of different roles that a materials engineer might be able to fill in a company like that. And there are also more major specific or combined major general engineering career fairs. So on the right, you see a picture of the MAE, MSE career fair. And so here we have National Lab speaking to us, but there's plenty of companies that come and talk to MSE and combined engineering clubs and majors. And then in terms of research, so I myself, as you mentioned, there are plenty of labs just in MSE. You can also expand into doing some combined work outside of MSE with other labs, but even within MSE, there's a lot of diversity in the labs that we have. I am involved in a machine learning and photonics group, and Garrett is in an archaeomaterials lab. So just between us, I'm sure we could answer quite a few questions. We, as MRS, host some lab tours for those looking to do some on-campus research, and especially joining research is a great way to get to know some graduate students.
So next, aside from just career and research development, we also have plenty of socials. It's a great opportunity to get closer to those in the Mat Sci major, because again, those in MRS are mostly Mat Sci, so that we do have people from other majors as well. And it's also a great way to explore Westwood, Santa Monica, and just larger Los Angeles. On the left, we have a picture from Hiking the Hollywood Sign. It's an event that we do most years. And then on the right, we have a picture from Casino Night, which is an event that we do every single year in winter quarter. We'll just go play blackjack, hold'em, and roulette into the night. It's a lot of fun. Next, you have meeting your best friends. I truly do believe that the people you meet in Mat Sci will be your friends for the rest of your life. I've gotten really, really close to the people in my major, just because from the second you step on campus, you're going to be taking your first introduction to material science class with them. And then by the time you get into your sophomore year, almost every single material science class, or even just larger engineering class, you're going to be with those same people. So you already have built-in study groups, and you're going to get really close to them. And then those friendships will follow you way beyond graduation. Next, we have the SAMPE Beam Building Competition. So this is a technical project under MRS. It's an international collegiate competition. So we are competing against other universities from around the world. And as far as what we do, so again, it's a beam building competition, and it's all composite beams, meaning that we build beams out of carbon, glass, and natural fibers. There's a couple different categories, and they're also categorized by shape, whether that be I-beam, and that just means like that the cross section is an I, a square beam, meaning that there's a little gap in the middle, or free design, meaning that you could do whatever, whether that be a triangle beam, a circle beam. You have no restrictions at all other than the length of the beam. And then what you do is you travel to competition. We're actually going in about a month and a half to North Carolina. And then you have to break the beam under a 3-point bend test, as indicated in this middle picture. It's where you hold it up on either side, and then a force presses down in the middle. Our beams normally weigh around 2 pounds, but will hold over 9,000 pounds before breaking. So they're insanely strong materials, and you're actually encouraged to get involved as early as your freshman year, meaning that you don't have to wait at all before getting your hands dirty and actually getting to do the thing, which is really awesome. And it's not just the competition, there's also a conference attached to it as well. So when we go to North Carolina, there's the actual bit where it's just breaking the beam and then like ranking yourselves among schools from around the world. But it's also a multi-day conference. I believe it's 2 days, which is where different leaders in industry will come. And it's a huge networking event, getting sponsorships for SAMPE, but also getting different career and research opportunities for any students involved who go to conference, which is really fantastic. So that's all that we had prepared for today. Does anyone have any questions about that?
Or in general, doesn't have to be about the
Yeah,
presentation.
that's true. We can answer literally any question you have.
Yeah, I see we have 2 new attendants, Sarah Wong and Rohan Kara.
Oh, fantastic.
So
Nice to see
welcome.
you all.
Welcome.
I had one quick question about the MRS like club.
Yeah.
Is it related to like the larger like Materials Research Society like conference and everything?
Absolutely. So we were actually the first university chapter of Materials Research Society. So we are actually looking into taking members to conference in future years. It's not something we've done in the past, but yes, we are connected to the international organization, Materials Research Society.
So, Kara, I have a question on, do you attend MIS national meetings like
We haven't
regularly?
in the past, but we want to. That's something that Kara's going to be working on for next year.
Certainly, sounds good.
Any other questions about UCLA, Mat Sci, Westwood, anything?
I think one thing, at least I don't mean to step on anyone's toes if there are questions, but we have plenty of time for those. One thing that a lot of incoming students don't realize is that our tech breadth is one of the best ways to explore a lot of courses. So I find a lot of people come in being like, oh, I'm not so sure if I want to switch out of MSE and go into like mechanical, but I think we have the best major. So in addition to that, you can also explore outside in the other engineering majors. So for people that want to do mechanical, we already have some built-in like mechanical courses in our like required course load. So you can kind of, as well as one electrical course. I've taken some biomaterials courses as my tech breadth. So like they give you a good base to explore all the different routes. And then to further that, you can do your tech breath in the area that you found most interesting. So I think that's a great way if you're really not sure. I think we have the best like base for all engineering, and it's probably the most interesting. So I'm a strong proponent of exploring your tech breath.
And to elaborate on what Kara is saying, in case you don't know, a technical breadth is something that's unique to UCLA engineering programs, but every engineering major you have, you get a technical breadth, which is where you take 3 classes in another engineering discipline or STEM discipline. And people normally decide around the end of their sophomore year, and it's essentially like a mini minor. So again, if, like Kara said, if you're deciding between 2 majors, there's always an opportunity to bring in another major already into your course load, and it doesn't have to be on top of the classes you're already required to take, because you're already required to go out and explore another discipline.
Yeah, a minor. So you don't have to worry about adding a minor because again, you already have that built in like width. But I do know some people that have also been able to incorporate minors. I will warn though, it's a lot of work. So yeah, I think the tech breadth is the easiest way to explore. Garrett, what did you do your tech breath in?
My tech breadth is nanotechnology, so I've been able to take a nanotechnology in the environment class, which is really fun. It was under the civil engineering department, and then I was also able to take a microfabrication class, which is where I got into the micro lab and was able to process semiconducting silicon wafers using photolithography. So it was a really awesome opportunity to get into a micro lab using a lot of wet chemistry skills that you don't get until your very last material science lab. So it's nice to broaden out as far as the lab space went.
Yeah, I did biomaterials. So I did their thermodynamics course, which was very difficult. So if you want a rough course, I would recommend it. It got me into shape a little bit for some future courses. And I also took biomaterials and tissue engineering. And so those were both really fascinating because I incorporated, how the body responds to materials, which is not good in a lot of ways. I'll tell you that much. The immune system does some crazy stuff. But yeah, I found that really interesting going in. And so I was more than happy to explore it. I've also done some of the CS courses. So yeah, if there are any questions really on like any other broader engineering majors, I think we can probably handle those as well.
I have another quick question, I guess, about your personal like college application, like decision process. How did you decide, or why did you decide to select MSc at UCLA over your other college options? I'm kind of weighing out all my options at the moment, so I'm a bit stuck.
I love answering this question. So why UCLA? They're kind of separate questions for me. Materials was the only like option I was really considering because I learned what chemical engineering was. And I think it's a misnomer. I think it should be called process engineering or something. And that was not the side of engineering I wanted to go into. I wanted to build things up from the bottom of approach, ground scale to the top. And so that's really why I was interested in material science. I liked chemistry, I liked physics, but yeah, chemical engineering sounded bad. And I also like that engineering is incredibly collaborative. That's really what I wanted from an environment. And I also found that at UCLA, as opposed to some of the other schools that I was considering, like especially I'm from the Bay Area. And so Berkeley, I found always had like a really competitive environment, and that's just not the high school I was in, and that's not the environment that I wanted to work in, because I find that probably wouldn't be a job environment I would do well in. So I figured the college environment also wouldn't be beneficial to be competitive.
I had a very similar story to Kara as far as deciding material science. I knew I wanted to be engineering, and then I only reached material science because I knew I didn't want to go into the other engineering disciplines. I was like, I know I don't want to do CS. I know not electrical, I know not mechanical. And then once I discovered what chemical engineering was, I was like, well, material science it is. And it wasn't really until I stepped on to UCLA's campus and took material science 10 the fall of my freshman year. I was like, wait, this is really what I want to do. So it was more of a shot in the dark that ended up being very correct for me. And then as far as deciding UCLA, I had a little bit of a funny experience. I went to Bruin Day, which my year we had over 100,000 attendees to Bruin Day, and it scared me. Like I was terrified. My graduating class from high school was 31 people, and I just saw 10,000 people wandering around this massive campus. And at the end of that day, I was like, I can never go to UCLA. You will not see me there, too many people. And then the next day was engineering day, and I got to meet the people of the department. I got to meet the professors who were all really sweet and really caring. I got to meet the students who were shockingly social from what I had heard about engineers. And I just really loved getting to meet the department. And then I literally submitted my intent to register that night, just to like Kara said before, being in MATS at UCLA gives you all of the benefits of having a large school, all of those resources and connections, and being in Los Angeles. You're so close to Westwood, so close to Santa Monica, you can do all of that. With all of the benefits of a small department, you'll never have to worry about making friends in your classes. You have built-in study groups. And then that's why I decided UCLA.
I'll just throw in because I think, Hugo, you mentioned you're from New York. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I'm also from New York and made the same decision to go from New York to LA. And I'll say, besides everything about the MSE department in UCLA that you've already heard, I just love being in Los Angeles. You know, it's a great town. I still live here now, 15 years after I got here. Lots of great shows, nightlife, hikes. I mean, it's just very different than being on the East Coast. And I certainly travel a lot. I still love, I'm getting back to New York tomorrow. But there's something about if you've grown up on the East Coast coming out to LA, it's just a very different feeling. And I just really enjoyed not just the campus life, but getting off campus, did a lot of cycling, hiking, got into skydiving, and just found it was a great place for all that.
Thank you.
And also, Hugh, I don't know if you'd like to share more details about what other schools you're considering or what is important to you specifically.
Yeah, thank you. So I guess at the moment I'm debating between like UCLA. I also have Rice and Cornell that I'm kind of thinking about. I know you, and yeah, and Berkeley as well, and Carnegie Mellon. So I kind of have a few options, and I guess it's kind of overwhelming sometimes. But I know what you said about like a collaborative environment and everything at UCLA is pretty important to me, and I guess thinking about Rice, for example, it's a very small school and everything, and the environment is known for being very like cooperative. I don't know. I guess how would you compare maybe? Thank you.
I don't know much about Rice in particular, but I think, yeah, since we are a small major, it's going to be a similar thing here. Just from my personal experience, it's incredibly collaborative and cooperative. Like everyone within MRS within your year will talk. All the upperclassmen, if you happen to be in a class with upperclassmen, incredibly friendly. All the professors more than happy to answer questions. I have never had a bad experience, so I think it's all just very, very positive in that sense.
Yeah, and to aid in that, I can't necessarily speak to some of the other schools you mentioned, but within engineering programs, curving down for classes is not an exception to the rule. It does happen decently often, but I've actually never been in a class at UCLA that's curved down, which helps aid that collaborative environment. You don't feel like you're competing against the students you're in classes with. It enables you to help them instead. Like, I don't think I've walked into a test in MatSci without having a group study session the night before. Like, we do almost everything together. Like, all of my core group of friends is material science. Not to say that like you have to only be friends with material sciences, but it just becomes so easy because you're doing everything with them naturally, that you get really, really close with them and you build each other up instead of tear each other down.
Also personally, I mean, it's been more than 10 years ago. I was thinking also actually Carnegie Mellon electrical computer engineering and UCLA, and I was admitted for business. I switched into material science on my very first day. No regrets whatsoever. It was just like, it's engineering. It's the small attention that you really wouldn't get anywhere else, but also you can make the experience as big as you want and do whatever you want beyond engineering too. I would say like me and Alex, we still keep in touch, so yeah, it's really like a lifelong kind of, experience.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it, but also obviously, if you're considering weather, if that matters to you at all, the weather is going to be very different. We keep it nice around like 75 for most of the year. We're having a little bit of heat right now, but it's pretty bearable. We went kayaking again, so there are definitely ways to cope, but the weather is really kind of unbeatable, and there's some great sightseeing to do if California is new to you. Even if you're from like NorCal, I think SoCal is a very different experience.
Yeah, definitely the weather is amazing there. My brother's actually at UCLA. He's doing math, so I've had my fair share. It's really nice.
Okay, I see more students joining, and Hugo and Catherine have introduced themselves. So maybe the newly joined students, Meredith, Cyrus, Rohan, Megan, you want to introduce yourself. Mainly what people would like to hear is what made you choose material science as a major? And also a little bit about yourself will be great.
Oh, should I go ahead and start the introductions? I guess I'm first on the list. But hi everyone, my name is Catherine. I graduated from UCLA with my bachelor's in the spring of 2020 in material science and engineering. During my time at UCLA, I did undergraduate research with Professor Dunn for a summer. I had an internship with the Aerospace Corporation where I worked with polymer matrix composites. And then after I graduated, I went into a PhD program. So I'm now in Baltimore at Johns Hopkins. And my current research involves using additively manufactured metal lattice structures as reinforcement for ceramic matrix composites.
I guess I'll go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Bakor. I graduated last year, so 2021, and I'm currently doing my first year at Johns Hopkins as a PhD student, also in materials engineering. When I was at UCLA, I was involved in Bruin Formula Racing, which is like a car club on campus, and I did that pretty much all my years at UCLA. I was also part of the Materials Research Society. And right now I'm working on energetic or reactive materials at Hopkins. So things like propellants or other reactive materials for various purposes. Yeah.
Meredith, can you explain what's going on in this photo? I kind of love it.
Oh, that's from when I got to walk last spring. I found those boots for 15 bucks at Macy's and I sewed that dress. So I was like, let's just go.
Nice.
Thank you. Should I just hop in and introduce? Yeah, I graduated in March of 2021. My name is Meredith. And right now I'm currently working as a quality control technician with Fire Clay Tile. So I'm up in Northern California. I do a lot of research and development work. I work on a factory floor, which is really cool. I knew when I graduated, I wanted to do something with my hands. So this is my way of doing it without going like further into specifically research. And that's been a lot of fun. I use a lot of my Spanish at work too. I'm using my engineering and my people skills and all of that stuff all in one. And I started with materials engineering because I was really interested in sustainability specifically. And I wanted a way to look at sustainability of all the products that we make from the base level, which is like your materials. If your materials are more sustainable and your sources are more sustainable, everything you make from there is going to be better. So that's how I got interested in materials.
So Meredith, could you elaborate a little bit on how did the courses or the education at UCLA help you or not really helping you in your professional career?
Yeah, it's actually funny because I still refer back to Magda's like 161L lab slides like every day. I've been working my current job for like 6 months and within 2 weeks I was going back to Magda's slides for that. And so I've found my classes to be really helpful in what I'm doing. I've been writing up my own MATLAB codes, which if anyone knows me, you know, MATLAB was a struggle for me. And now I'm analyzing tons of data that we're collecting on the floor. And I'm like, oh, actually, this would be a lot easier in MATLAB. So it's like been really fun for me to explore things that I learned in school outside of the pressure of like getting grades. And it's nice to know that I actually do have that background because I know when you're in classes, it can feel like you're not absorbing anything, but I'm like, oh, I did learn a lot and I'm able to apply it, which is really awesome.
Okay, I'm going to introduce myself next. I'm Raina. I also graduated last year, and like Catherine and Megan, I'm also at Johns Hopkins University studying, doing a PhD program in materials. I am currently working on physical vapor deposition of different alloys for structural applications. But in my time at UCLA, I was very involved with both MRS and SAMPE. And then I also did club sports for a little bit. And just like went to lots of sports games. But I had a really, really good time at UCLA. And like now that I'm doing graduate coursework, I often refer back to my undergraduate work, or like I recognize lots of concepts that we're going over in more detail because we did them in undergrad. And I feel like being at UCLA for material science really set me up well now in my PhD program.
Hi, I'm Tiffany. I graduated 2010. I really enjoyed my time at UCLA and especially the MRS family. I was able to have research with Professor Jen Ming, and it was on the remineralization properties of saliva on your teeth, so dentine and your enamel, and that was like really cool. Got to see like how like the scanning electron microscope worked, also the TEM2, and that's actually like sort of important in analyzing failures actually in consumer electronics, which is where I'm sort of in now. I'm at Cloud Kitchens. Previously, I was at Snapchat working on spectacles, Cisco Meraki, Amazon Lab 126 e-readers and tablets, Netgear. So it's a lot of like hands-on mechanical stuff that you really, really think about material properties for. So yeah.
Cool. And I'm Alex, graduated 2010 with Tiffany. So we've been friends for a long time now. Let's see where to start. The last 7 years, I've been running my own company called Josh AI. It's a voice control AI company, but we do build hardware as well. So similar to Tiffany's experience, fun on sort of the mechanical side, material side, and everything that goes into building hardware. UCLA was really sort of an exciting experience for me. I got to do a lot of research, starting off in Professor Bruce Dunn's lab, who I know was on the call earlier. I'm not sure if he's still here, but went from there and then did a couple summer internships with a program called REU, or yeah, Research Experience for Undergrads. So I did one of those at Harvard, and then I did one of those in New Mexico at Sandia National Lab. And so UCLA just made those opportunities great. And then I don't know if the professors here are going to like this or not, but ended up doing some research out of the department, spent 2 years in the chemistry department with the professor working on a group of materials called MOFs, metal organic frameworks. So it was kind of fun being able to touch a little bit of chemistry, physics. I was in the medical school a bunch, and then I spent a bunch of time over at the business school and the law school just to learn. Like, it's great when you're at UCLA, you can drop in, listen to lectures. There's a lot that's going on. Was member of MRS. I think I was the president one year. I can't even remember. I think Tiffany might have been the president. It was all sort of confusing to me looking back. But to answer some of the questions, I did attend the, let's see, San Francisco is a spring meeting, right? I think it is. So I attended some of the national MRS meetings, and let's see, did a aerospace club for AIAA, the Design Build Fly Club, where you build a sort of model airplane and fly it. And that one's fun because it's a bunch of mechanical and aerospace engineers and no one that really focuses on materials. So coming in as the only materials person, you've got an ability to be a little bit different. And then just did a bunch of other stuff, wrote for the Undergraduate Science Journal, and just stayed really busy. So yeah, happy to dive into whatever questions make sense. But I think many of us go different routes in terms of student groups, research labs, what we do for the summers. But at the end of the day, I think material science is so great because it touches literally every discipline. So you can move into whatever area is most exciting to you, and there's always a reason that it makes sense to have you in the room.
Yeah, I believe what Alex just highlighted is one of the real advantages of being in a huge university like UCLA. The opportunities is just everywhere, opens up your field of view, basically. And listen to him, went to chemistry, being a material science student, went to chemistry, doing undergraduate independent research, right? And that I think, you know, you for the incoming students, you among the factors of consideration, you have to really think whether you choose a small university that you are more nurtured, let's say, so-called, or you're basically in a mega university like UCLA, right? You are exposed to all sorts of opportunities, and you have your freedom to choose. I would venture to argue that an environment like UCLA is more, in a certain sense, prepare you better for the world, right? After you graduate and you start working. Anyways, just share some of my thoughts. And we have also Cyrus and Lucas newly joined us. So would you like to introduce yourself?
We have another alumni here, right? Stephen Chung.
Ah, Stephen, yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Stephen, how could I forget you?
Oh. Hi. Might have joined a little bit late. Did everybody already do their introductions? Okay, so sorry. So I guess you just want to know my quick background and then like why I think UCLA is the best school ever, which is, okay. Well, quick background, I worked for bowling for 10 years in failure analysis right after I got my BS and MS from UCLA. And then I went to work for iPhone operations. I worked on their quality. So basically for 3 years, I was part of the iPhone 10 to iPhone 11 Pro, where basically all types of user experiences, we have to make sure that it doesn't break in the field. Like if you drop it, you throw it in water or any types of that. So I ran those programs for the quality side. And then I recently switched to the Apple Beats headphones. I switched basically from technical to straight operations management. So I run a team that does all the new products for Beats now for headphones. So that's like the new ones that came out with like the Beats Fit Pro, or we give out, you know, our Beats to all the NBA and football people like that. So pretty fun. I guess changing career from material science to satellites, commercial airplanes, and helicopters to iPhones, and then now to Beats headphones, which I would have never saw myself doing or thought I was cool enough to be part of Beats or something like that. But in any case, I think the more reason why everyone's joining this is about UCLA. And I think a lot of my passion for engineering and my technical base is all from UCLA. And I have to give thanks to the material science program. I knew growing up that I always wanted to be an engineer. I didn't know what type. I found the material science program back when I was 18, 17 when I was applying. I thought this was something new, something very exciting. And when I came to UCLA, it was a very small program. I think we had like 80 people in our class. And I think that's kind of the great thing that was part of the UCLA MSE program, because you're part of such a big school, but you also felt like you're part of a family. And so that kind of drove me through my 4 years of college with my friends and the people that I was around, and especially the professors who made you feel very comfortable in learning something that was just very exciting. So I really think about that all the time, what UCLA has had to offer to me. So again, to all the, like, congratulations to all the people who got into UCLA or who think about it. I really want you to think about UCLA is the #1 applied school in the world, I think. I mean, the name, the football, it's great, right? We have the football. I mean, actually, the football and basketball is usually good, but the last 10 years have been pretty frustrating. But we have a huge fan base, and it's amazing. I mean, just walking to like Poly Pavilion and everything. So again, going to the #1 applied school and then finding something that's just so special in this program, and the professors being so intimate in your learning. I don't know what else to say about it. You know, I give credit to all of my career success now really to UCLA and to this program, really to this program and to the people I met.
Thank you. We have Nicole. Nicole Carpenter. Nicole, are you here?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Awesome. Hey, good morning, everyone. Sorry, I was a little bit late. So my name is Nicole. I am currently the team lead for the Component Evaluation and Failure Analysis Lab for Boeing Satellite Systems in El Segundo. Funny enough, Steven was actually my mentor after I graduated from UCLA. And so I'm currently in the role that he once was in. And so I think a lot of the things that he spoke to probably also apply to the way that attending UCLA helped me grow and, you know, learn how to problem solve properly in my current role. It's a huge part of the job. And yeah, a lot of the, I guess, principles that I also learned in my master's program, which I was in while working full-time, working for Boeing, really helped with the types of work that I was performing. For example, some of the fracture analysis that I learned from Professor Ono helped me actually write a paper on fracture analysis of electronic components. And so there's been a lot of things that I've learned at the school that I've applied to my job, and just overall had a really wonderful experience in undergrad as well. It is a big school, like Steven said, but does feel like a family, and you make a lot of friends and make a lot of connections. And I always felt very much supported by the professors. So thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. That's great. And to add to all has been said, and also to answer Hugo's question of what is unique about UCLA's location. You have heard we are big campus, many disciplines, but really unique thing is we are all here on the same campus. And that really is a bit different. And Alex is certainly the student who has taken advantage of this intimate location-wise, being able to participate in research in physical science, medical school, and also went to lectures and classes in business school. It wouldn't be so convenient if they are at separate locations like Harvard. I went to Harvard, they have business, they have medical school, but they are all like miles apart. And that draws a bit difference. Right, so is Yahong here? All right, so Kyle, what is our next session, or do we have any other questions from the students?
No, basically it's open for Q&A.
Oh, nice. And we have some new students joining us, right? The prospective undergraduate. Would you like to introduce yourselves? Yes. Joseph?
Well, it's pretty, we try to run a pretty casual and sort of a conversational session. So anybody have any questions, just feel free to ask.
I would love to hear from the alumni what either their favorite class at UCLA was or experience. Doesn't have to be within MSE, because obviously we're very interdisciplinary. We take some fun GEs every once in a while. So I'd love to hear that from the alumni.
I'll just jump in really quick. We spend so much of the 4 years doing really difficult classes, you know, hard science, math, engineering, that for me, the ones that stand out were the ones that were kind of outside of that, just to mix it up a little bit. I did the business technical breadth and found that to be just a great set of 3 classes that were so different than most of my other courses and really helped with what I'm doing today. And then the other one was I took a linguistics course, and now I work in language processing. So really enjoyed Ling, which, you know, was kind of a whim of a class to take. I'm not sure if that's necessarily what you want to hear, but a lot of the core classes are great, but you're going to take those regardless. And so if you have a chance to take some business and something like linguistics, I find, you know, those are really rewarding.
Okay, I guess I can, oh, go ahead, Tiffany.
Okay, so I have 2 classes that I want to give shout outs to. So one of them was thermodynamics, which I think a lot of people dislike, but I thought that that class was taught really well, that it convinced me to take the mechanical version of thermodynamics, which in the end was a mistake. I'm not a mechanical engineer, I'm a material scientist. But I think Professor Bologna-Sant does such a good job teaching that class that you really enjoy it. And then when I took the graduate version of thermodynamics last semester, I was like, oh, I know a lot of this because like it was taught really well the first time around. And the other class that I really enjoyed was one I took my very first quarter at UCLA, which was Introduction to Film Studies. And it was like, we just watched movies every week and talked about like the movies and like cinematography and stuff. And it also opened me up to like meeting people in a different school than the one I was in. And I like made friends who were film majors. And it just like really expanded my worldview of UCLA beyond the engineering school, I think. So those are my two classes.
Yeah, I think along with Raina, I kind of have a two-sided answer to that. In the material science department, MSE 111, which is the second part to the materials characterization, I thought was a great class, and one that I don't think, it's such a well-reviewed class, but I don't think enough people take it. And so it doesn't always seem like the best class you can possibly take, but I loved that class. It was really eye-opening to all the different tools you can use in the realm of material science. And you don't even touch a large portion of them, but it's really eye-opening to go in depth of how everything works. And now that I'm a grad student, potentially looking at actually using those techniques, I found it really helpful to just have a background. And then when it comes to just kind of a general class, I took bioethics my very first quarter of college, and I love that class. Anyone who knows me knows that I will bring it up like every other sentence. There's always something that I learned in that class that I find applicable to my daily life. So there's classes outside of the materials department that you can get at UCLA that are really special.
Yeah, I took one of my favorite classes I ever took was environmental literature, which was about understanding the environment and just how we interact with our world through pieces of literature. Because I came in as like an English nerd. Like I love science, but I also love books and analyzing. And so we read John Muir, we read Rachel Carson. So it was a really awesome intersection of science and literature, and also my specific interest in sustainability. And it really reframed how I view all of the products that I interact with on the daily, how I view what I'm designing, because the company that I work for now does have a sustainability aspect to it. And we try to we recycle all of our water, we use recycled granite fines in our clay body. Like that's something that we try to work in too. So even though it wasn't specifically a mat sci class, it's really influenced how I view all of the materials that I work with now. And it was just a lot of fun too.
Something that I found that was pretty cool was that I could take ballet classes at UCLA. So you pass the auditions, you can like get into advanced levels, and like you dance with dance majors. It's like cool. And like engineering wise, I would say probably the lab classes were my favorite. Especially the semiconductor ones, even though my yield wasn't too high. And I remember Jeff McKay was like, oh no. It's still like in the back of my head. But yeah, those lab classes were so awesome. Really just like I can, yeah, right. Like I would also say like the TA to student ratio is really great. Steven was like one of my favorite TAs to like me and Alex. And like, yeah, you need help, you ask, they just jump in. Sometimes there's like multiple TAs. I mean, yeah, just the faculty and anyone, nothing quite like it, I think, yeah.
I can add in one. One of my favorite classes was MSE 151, which is the composites class. And that was actually taught by an industry professor, which I think is really cool and interesting. And I don't know how often this happened to other universities, but UCLA, some classes will be taught from people from like Aerospace Corp. So they sort of have their own perspective on what is relevant and what might be most important for if you're going on to industry after. So I really like that sort of change of pace in classes. And I also attribute that to helping me get some internships later on down the road, which was really important. So like the things you learn in class can definitely help you get internships or jobs after graduating, which is super great.
I'd like to just throw it in there that I think from what I remember, the first 2 years though is going to be your kind of general classes. So you don't hit the amazing MSc classes to your 3rd year. And then I think that's when it really, so there's 2 parts to this. You do take, is there still the MS, well, what my time was MS 14? It was like the intro to everything. Do they still do that?
It's MSE 10 now, but yes.
I mean,
MSc
104.
10. And so you take that your first year, right? Still.
No, MSE 10
I'll
is
say
the
10.
intro. Yeah.
Okay, so to the prospective students, like there's this one class that you take right when you start as an MSc, and it's MSc 10 now. And that's when you get to meet like your classmates that you will be through the 4 years of school and everything that you do. And I think that's very interesting, right? Because a lot of times in engineering and a lot of big schools, I was told you look left, you look right, that person's not going to be an engineer to next to you later on in the years. And that's true because it is hard, but it's well worth it. But the fun thing about UCLA is that they throw in this MSc 10 where you get introduced to every single topic of material science engineering, all the professors and all your classmates, right? And little do you know that these people will be your best friends in the next 4 years. You know, and of course you'll do outside things too, right? And then 3 years later, that's when it really clicked for me, is when I got to choose all these MSc classes, starting off with 104, my favorite class, which is like a general material science. So just a heads up, you don't go straight into MSc classes. You will have to take the math, the physics, all those kind of fun things until you really hit the best part of college, when it's the MSc classes. So just a heads up on that one.
Yeah, I guess one of the last things I'll add, speaking of what Stephen was saying, one of my favorite classes actually came slightly before when I started the MSc specific courses in 3rd year. It was also probably the hardest class of my all 4 years, which was Physics 1A with Professor Corbin. But I think the way that he taught was so interesting in learning the way of how things work. One of my favorite memories was, I think he actually calculated if he shot an object at a stuffed monkey across the room, where it would hit it or if it would collide. And so that was really neat, just to show how exact things can be if you do the proper calculation. And I don't know, I just thought physics and science in that course was really, really cool, and was unlike anything I'd ever seen in terms of a college level course and engaging the audience.
I will just mention, I think this is different for every person, but it's common coming in to want to try to skip some of the very introductory courses because you can technically get credits based on EP exams, that kind of stuff. I would urge you to really think clearly about whether or not that's the right thing, because the classes go from maybe day 1 or day 2 don't seem that hard to getting really hard really quickly. And I think in hindsight, I can't remember if I skipped any or not, but those introductory courses are so important because the next 2 or 3 years just build on each other, and one course leads into the next, leads into the next. And so just want to really make it clear, think about those classes as, you know, really important building blocks that lead to the success of the next couple of years.
I have a question for Alex. So you mentioned that you would just like sit in lectures. Do you just walk in and just sit?
Yeah, so UCLA is great about having a lot of guest lecturers that come on campus, and we'll do sort of a one-off. When I was on campus, I remember folks that were running different national labs would come on campus, in the physics department, chemistry department, different engineering departments. And I was often the only undergraduate attending those. And they were great because I had literal summer internships that came out of, you know, those drop-ins. But also I would see someone interesting speaking at the business school, and I would go and drop into those. You know, same with the medical school and other places. I just found it was really interesting to hear from these guest lecturers on campus. There were a couple times that I would drop into actual classes, but they weren't generally as useful because you have to really do the entire class to know what's going on. So it was more the one-off lectures where you see a random Wednesday at 6 p.m. in one of the departments, someone's giving a talk about something that seems interesting. And those are often the ones that I would go to.
Well, let me take this this brief break in a quiet time to just want to say hello to all the alumni. And I see you guys in the hallway and in and out, especially like I remember Alex and Stephen. Now you look at Stephen's photo at the lower left corner of this slide, right? His smile, you know, just he walked into the room, you bring, you know, the brighten up the entire room. And as you have also heard from all the other alumni, they are just, you know, we have 2 in Johns Hopkins material science just now, and you sort of feel it's truly a family. Now, Stephen, it's really a shock to me that hearing you saying you have already been out of UCLA 13 years. That's amazing.
Yep. It's crazy.
Time truly flies. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm with the kid now, so it's crazy.
Yeah, on the note of friends, I have a fun story. So Catherine and I actually met at our freshman orientation session. We were just like put in the same group. And then I think we might have been the only 2 MatScis in that group. Or no, there was one more MatSci. But we just kind of like, we did like a paired up friend thing, and we both learned that we both love corgis, and that was essentially the base of our friendship. And now, like almost 6 years later, here we are. She's in Baltimore. I flew out to visit her last year. Like she came out and visited me in California over winter break. We've like gone through every step of our process at UCLA together. She was MRS president when I was vice president. It's like, it's so special to have this small group where you can start from the beginning with people and you finish at the end. And like, I remember our senior design class was so much fun because we were spending all this time in the lab and working on our own projects, but it was, again, with all these people that we met in our freshman seminar course, that like fall quarter of freshman year. So it's just like a really, really special community that I'm so grateful to have had to get me to the point where I am now.
And I'll also mention, just as a totally separate thing, coming from out of state tuition is quite high, or at least it certainly was when I was in school. I'm guessing it's only gotten worse. And I know a lot of departments, there's a lot of competition for scholarships, which scholarships can be at the department level, the college level, and the school level. So there are a lot of, and even outside of the school, but there are a lot of different levels. And I remember my freshman year going to, I think it might've been Professor Gorski might have been the chair. I can't remember who the chair was. But just saying, is there any opportunity for scholarships that I might not know about? And that opened the door for a couple I was able to get that were really meaningful. And I don't know if you have those opportunities in bigger departments. It was just really great that I can get that, you know, time with the chair, with different professors. And I find people genuinely want to help. And so, you know, that made a really big difference for me in my freshman year.
Do we have like prospective out-of-state students online, or is it all in-state, may I ask? You could just type if you don't want to say yes or no.
I'm from New York.
New York, okay. So I think, you know, hitting upon that, you know, I was also an out-of-state, I'm from Hawaii. And so the move was very drastic for me, or for anyone, I believe. And I think it's gonna take you some time to get used to it, I think. But again, UCLA's community and clubs and sports will really bring you to love the campus and love the people around you. And everyone's very open to meeting people. And I think that period in your life where you can go to any dorm room and say hi and I'm from wherever I am is like the best experience and the most open and genuine time I think you can make those connections. So again, going back to it, if you're out of state, don't worry. This is going to be your like second home. It really is. And I've been in LA now since UCLA, and I haven't moved back. So it's a great spot.
I can't believe no one has mentioned the food here. If you're an incoming freshman, you're going to be in the dorms, which is a great experience. I would say probably choose like a classic for the full college experience, but we have the best food in our dining halls. We're like ranked number 1 or 2 in the nation. And that really matters when it's the only meals that you're eating for an entire like 30-week period. So I would really weigh that very heavily in your decision because it's going to factor into your everyday experience.
Does
They
anybody
didn't
want to
have
swipe
late
me in?
night chicken tenders.
I would still come back. If someone would swipe me into the dorm food, I'd totally come back and eat the food.
I still will make dupes of dorm food because it is that good.
Yeah, we have deep dish s'more baking nights, Catherine, Rena, and I do, where we get on Zoom and make deep dish s'mores together.
Also, the other thing about like dorming that I really like is all of the dorms are in the same place. It's literally called The Hill because it's on a hill. But I think that's really nice because like unlike other college campuses where like sometimes the dorms are scattered around campus, all of your friends who are dorming are like less than a 5-minute walk away from you. That 5-minute walk may involve 6 flights of stairs, but you know what? It's worth it. And so I think that's really convenient if you want to do like late night hangs. And there's lots of like common areas. There's like common lounges like on every floor, but then there's also like common areas for every building that like will have like pool tables, ping pong tables, TVs and stuff. So I feel like UCLA does a really good job with like the dorm experience. And if I've been following the housing stuff well, I think starting with your class, you get 4 years of guaranteed housing, which is really nice because when I started, it was only 3 years. And like having another year of being able to live in like university apartments would have been really nice instead of trying to find our own place. But yeah, as Kara said, dorm food, we're number 1 in the nation. Like it's so good. We're not even like, exaggerating. Like it's really good. Absolutely worth it.
I think there was something about GPA too back for incoming is like highest for, it's like ridiculously high. It's like 4.9 incoming for GPA for like engineering at UCLA. I was just like, I would not have made it in back then, but yeah, some kind of like congrats to you all.
They must be making up AP courses at this point. I don't even know how that's possible.
I think there were people who were like undecided who actually like averaged 5.0, and I was just like, wow, like do any of the other students have any thing they want to share in terms of what they're considering or what they might be looking forward to, or? Or now that we have more alumni, I don't know if Hugo, you want to reiterate which schools you wanted or you were considering?
So there's a question in the chat about getting classes, and I just want to answer that. So there's one very nice quality about the engineering school that it's called an enrollment consideration request that people in the College of Letters and Sciences don't have. That, not gonna lie, it's really easy to get your classes regardless, but if you're trying to get like some of the bigger classes that you take your freshman year, like physics or like chem lab, you can put in an ECR enrollment consideration request that again is unique to engineers. And then the engineering school will try as hard as they can to force you into classes. So like there's been like one time where like had to move a math class around, but like I've never had an issue getting into any of the classes I needed, which is really nice and can be said about a lot of other majors.
Yeah, not to mention MRS specifically has a mentorship program, so that'll pair you up with an I always forget the word, but like a junior or senior, basically sophomore, junior, senior. So they have a little bit more flexibility in their schedule to help like reserve a class for you. So that has helped me many a time, and I've helped lower students out with that as well.
I just want to add on that, like as Kara said in the chat, like MSE classes very easy to get, and like with the MSE program, it's very much like set up, like you need to take these classes this year, and like these classes another year. And like classes are usually only taught in fall or only in winter or only in spring. And so, and like the department knows how many people are supposed to be taking this class. So you will always be able to get into an MSE class that you need. You may not get like the specific lab time that you want, but you'll always get the classes that you need. And they always try very hard to like enable you to graduate in the time that you want. So yeah, super easy.
Also, adding on to the classes part, we have a fantastic set of counselors in the engineering school. And I think that's really unique compared to like College of Letters and Sciences. If you're studying biology, they have to cater to so many majors. It's like you can go into the counseling office and you're never going to see the same person twice. Whereas like I started working with James Washington, if he's still there, I started working with him when I visited as a prospective student, and he was with me through my senior year. And so I could always go to him and be like, hey, I have to reschedule this, or I have to drop this. What can I switch it out with? Like that's, I think, is so unique. I don't know how it is with other engineering schools, but at least at UCLA, it's so unique to have access to academic counselors like that and consistent access to the same ones who like know you.
I guess two other quick plugs for LA in general that I'm thinking about, especially relative to Cornell. My brother went to Cornell, and you hear horrible things about the winters there. My senior year, I joined the UCLA cycling team, and year-round, you know, you wake up any morning, join the team, go on these great bike rides. Super fun thing to do in LA. I don't think people realize, but LA is an amazing cycling town, and just a really fun thing. A couple, can't remember exactly who it was, but a couple peers that year, my senior year, we decided just to do kind of a crazy bike ride from LA to San Diego and take the train back. It was like 130 miles, and just did it on a whim on a random weekend. And that was just again, a fun thing to do. And from LA, it's easy to get to San Diego, Santa Barbara, San Francisco, and you're a couple-hour flight from Colorado, Utah, lots of other places. The other thing is when it comes to jobs that you might get after college, if you're thinking about getting into industry, it's easiest to basically go somewhere that's recruiting on campus. And being in Southern California, you've got a lot of companies that are local. For me, my first full-time job out of school was at an electric car company. And it was great because their headquarters were in Orange County. It was super easy to get to. I was also considering SpaceX, they're right in Hawthorne. And there are a lot of great companies that are really close by for internships and just generally getting to meet with folks. I know that's going to be true of some other areas as well, but LA, I think, definitely has a very large number of those companies that want to meet with you. They're doing career fairs, and it's just really easy to line up a number of interviews quickly.
Okay, any other questions from new admits? Well, if not, maybe we will end today's session. Thank you very much for everyone who participated, especially our alumni. Thank you for spending the time. And I'm sure, you know, the students considering coming to UCLA benefited tremendously from you guys' participation. So any questions, if anyone still have, feel free to email us, and you'll have the department's email address. And so we can, if there's anything we can do to help you make the decision, hopefully to come to UCLA, we anticipate your enrollment. All right, everyone, thank you.
I also want to say that for all of the admits, you should have been contacted by a current MRS board member. So if after this you have questions, they should have left a voicemail and texted. So you should have access to at least one current student, and you can reach out to them at any point.
Yeah, that's another thing you should already feel that our MSE department is truly a family. Once you come here, you become a member. Thank you. Thank you all.
Sorry, could I actually ask one question?
Oh yeah, please.
Thank you. I hope it isn't like a rude, comes off rude or anything. I don't know. Would you like compare like Rice University to UCLA? Those are kind of my two.
Oh, hands down, UCLA. Bruce, will you say so? UCLA comparing to Rice.
Well, I don't know if this is an indicator, but in the past couple of years, we've had several faculty from Rice who have applied for positions at UCLA. Okay. I think in all honesty, it has to do somewhat with the resources. It's, you know, we're UCLA, for goodness sake. We have everything that's needed for research and certainly for education. But that's also the quality of the students. And so as I think that all the alums, and I'm so pleased to see so many here, which is great, will tell you the competition. I mean, they're good friends with each other, but the competition is tremendous. But it's a friendly competition, and they really push each other to do better. And that's why they're often doing great things in their careers. And so at Rice, I don't think he quite had the same quality of student. Okay.
And sort of
And
to add
besides
on
Houston has such humidity. I mean, really. And no, just kidding. Go ahead. Who else is?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so Rice is in Houston, which is, Texas versus California, like culturally are very different as well. So just aside from the academics of the school, deciding like what state you want to live in, what kind of things you want to do on the weekend or have access to, at least when I was applying, that was like a huge thing to consider. So no real humidity in LA, which is very nice, and pretty much sunshine year round. Versus Houston is also like a very lively city, but definitely different than LA.
Yeah, there's a question about semiconductor companies. I'm going into semiconductor research, so I'll be working at Micron this summer. I've done some work with IBM. Yeah, exactly. We've all done some work in the Silicon Valley, pretty much. It's incredibly popular. One of our options is electronic materials option, so you can take courses specifically designed for that. I didn't quite do that. I just took the courses that I would have found interesting in that option. But yeah, we have a lot of different like pathways to choose when you're going for materials.
Hugo, actually, what is your biggest concern would be to choose Rice or or UCLA? Like what aspect of school, right? Is it the rankings because UCLA is higher? Is it the student body? Is it the sports? Let us be more specific to help you, and what your thoughts are. And if you can't think of it now, I'll be more than happy to, you can message us offline on LinkedIn or something, when you think about it more. Because there's so many different parts to it.
Right. Thank you. I don't know. I guess I don't know, I guess the lifestyle of Rice always kind of appealed to me, in terms of just like the way they organize their whole like living situation, and also yeah, I mean the small size of the university as a whole kind of appealed to me. I don't know. I guess it's a hard call.
Yeah, I mean, you know what, Hugo, this is like, I don't want to put you on a spot. Then more than happy, reach out to one of us, and I think we can give that perspective for you, so that you can really be open about how you feel. Because a lot of times when people have like, a university in mind, it's because they're familiar with it or they know someone that went there, and you have that right kind of personal connection. So if we can offer that to you about UCLA offline, we'll be more than happy to. So one of the student bodies can reach out to you and help you out with that decision.
I will briefly say though, this department is very different than most of the rest of UCLA. You're in a big school, but you're in a small school. And I have friends who went to a small college, and dating can get tricky after the first year. You know everyone, you're friends with everyone. UCLA is really interesting in that it's a big campus. You'll meet people who have been there all 4 years that you never met on the North Campus or other parts of campus. And yet MSE is tiny. Your entire class, a couple dozen people, if that, you get to know them, you feel like a family. So you're in this like little small bubble where you know everyone and everyone's really tight, but you're on this bigger campus where you can be out meeting new people.
Yeah, just want to add, like, as someone who graduated from an insanely small high school, like literally my graduating class was 31 people, I was really worried about the size of UCLA. And aside from just knowing everyone in the department, like even just as UCLA as a whole, I'm rather involved with different student things. Like I'm an RA and I was a new student advisor as well. And I cannot go like 5 minutes on campus without running into people I know. It's like by the time you hit like your third or fourth year, UCLA, even though we have like what 50,000 students, it gets real small real fast in like the best way possible.
Yeah, we have another question. Do most people go to graduate school?
I know a lot of seniors right now that are applying for masters, not as many for PhD, but some of that is just not in my like circle. But yeah, a lot of people apply for masters.
I think that was an unpopular choice even just a couple of years ago. I think it very much comes with the economy. You know, when as students are exiting, you look at your choices and you see what there is. You know, when I was graduating, previous to the pandemic, as I was about to exit, almost everybody was going to go out into industry because the economy was fantastic. And then once the pandemic hit, I think a lot of my classmates actually turned back and said, let's, you know, I'm going to go get my master's at UCLA because now's a great time. So I think it definitely depends. And with UCLA being a research university, you actually get the flexibility of we have, you know, all the tools to make a really great grad school application, as well as the ability to go out into industry straight from a bachelor's.
I don't know if faculty can still speak to this, but I believe my classmate, who's now my fiance, did a program. He had gotten into the master's program and then studied abroad during the summer between senior year and the start of the master's program in Japan. And that was so cool. Do you guys still do that?
Well, that happens all the time. I think it's some of them are organized, and they are also research group to research group, you know, private arrangement, not private, you know, arrangement, small scale arrangement. I just had a graduate student got his PhD by spending, I think, 2.5 years, maybe even 3, in Nagoya University, you know, Japan. And those kind of things. I had a girl got a PhD from with me, and she spent actually 2+ years in Germany during his PhD research. So it's truly an international institution we have here.
Right.
So let me answer that in two ways, Nicole. One is that I've been sending students to a Japanese company for an internship for the last decade, and it's worked out extremely well. The other part of this is that you can transfer. Yeah, in other words, you can, you know, if you're enrolled in, say, Nagoya University, as Professor Shea just mentioned, and you take classes, you are able to transfer it without a problem, 2 or 3 classes. So, you know, it's all possible to do this kind of split international type of arrangement. I think that the person-to-person one, though, is the one that really, really helps, because when you go to the foreign institution, you have people that are going to help you, you know, via the collaboration that's already been set up for the faculty.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to point out what a unique opportunity that is. And just as someone who works in industry, that looks really good on a resume to show that you're well-traveled, you know, you do things outside of your comfort zone, you've worked abroad, or things like that.
Also, we actually have a new program that's going to be starting this summer, which is a study abroad program to Cyprus with the materials engineering department. It's the first time we're doing it. We're actually the only engineering department to have a study abroad program for our department. Like, you can go study abroad and get classes outside of the engineering, but this is the only one that you can actually get materials engineering credit. It's I believe an 6-week program in Cyprus with Professor Kukuli doing archaeomaterials research in classes.
I also want to follow up with another mentioning, which is we have this ESAP program, Exceptional Students Acceptance Admission Program, for the students who maintain a 3.5 GPA. If you you choose to continue your graduate study at UCLA, there is nothing required. I guess you just say the word, you got in.
I would not have qualified.
Nor did I.
It's hard.
Yeah, but you can also just apply regularly. I actually just got into the PhD program at UCLA. So like, even if you don't have a fantastic GPA, you can still do it.
That's only if we like you. No, that's not true. There are, the ESAP program is very special. The reason is because it's engineering wide, and so there's restrictions in terms of GPA and so forth. So it's not a big deal if people are not, if not, automatically admitted to that program. We still recognize their quality.
Okay, any other questions? Well, if not, thank you all. Best wishes.
Well, I have one question actually.
Oh, okay. Just don't want to end.
No,
That's
no.
great.
And I have a
We're
question
having
for
such
I have a
good
question
time.
for Steve as well. But go ahead, Steve.
With things opening up now, like, will the MRS program have some type of alumni event again, like on campus, or something like that? It's been a
Coming
while.
for our swipes. I saw it in the comments.
Oh, is it? I don't know. I just, I do miss the camp. I mean, I still live close by, but I do.
We do plan to invite alumni to our end of year barbecue, which will be Friday of week 10. I can't recall the date, but yes, alumni are invited to that event, which we are currently dealing with the fire marshal's office about. But yes, y'all are invited.
That'd be great. I would love to see all the student body and the professors for sure.
Yeah, we plan to send out the invitations in our alumni newsletter, which should be sending out next weekend.
Yeah, and for the following year, if you guys are in the LA area, if you ever want to let us know, we'd be happy to arrange any sort of talk. But our internal vice president is going to be working very hard towards getting a lot of alumni events going.
And the department is going to start to reorganize a similar series of it. So we are also interested in inviting our alumni back to give the talk and communicate with our graduate students and undergraduate students.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
I would also like to say, just in terms of UCLA, I've reached out to many UCLA alum that I had no idea who they were on like LinkedIn, just for questions about their industry, their job. I have never had anyone like not answer me. Everyone's really friendly. Everyone always answers. So I really think that speaks to the type of students that we get here at UCLA. It's a fantastic environment.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, if you can't tell by how many of us showed up today, you can tell that alumni love to be involved and we love to help out other UCLA MSEs. My company wanted to look for an intern and I was like, oh, I know someone who's like a current MSE undergrad. So I think she's going to come and intern with us this year. It's a very friendly and welcome community.
A quick shout out to Bill, who's on the line. You wrote me into a couple things on campus each year, and I'm always very happy to participate.
Roped you in?
Invite me in.
I didn't twist your arm, Alex. You're very gracious, and I know you're extremely busy, so it's terrific that you're helping our department and hopefully our incoming students, those on the call here.
Yeah, Bill, I just sent you an email, and your effort is really, really appreciated. I mean, it's so important that you keep the network very much alive. All our alumni here, great work. Thank you, thank you so much.
I'm very gratified we have so many alumni this time. It goes up and down from year to year. It's depends who's busy and who's available and so on. But boy, I've had a great group this time, helping out from all over the place, including Stephen there. He's in Hawaii, looks like, a background.
Only the work for home was half the time, but I actually had to make it back to LA because Apple is making us come back slowly right now. So I have to show my face. Yeah.
But we have as you've heard, and we have graduate students, we have alumni working in startups, we have alumni working in very large companies. It's a great perspective from so many different directions for the prospective students to hear where graduates will go and the exciting work they'll participate in. And so that's really great to get that kind of a perspective to because not everybody coming into the materials science and engineering knows what materials science and engineering is all about. So it's good to hear from alumni that all the successes they can accomplish after leaving, and during the times they're here. You've heard about the internships, and so it's great. And we do in conjunction with mechanical and aerospace, we do a career fair. I don't know if anybody has mentioned that yet, but that's been very successful with many companies coming to hire our students. So many connections to industry and to alumni.
Yeah, it's everyone. Make sure you go to those career fairs and go early.
They've been virtual recently, and I'm sure that will transition back, or there'll be some hybrid options. So that makes it a little different, but I've been able to talk to many different companies and gotten interviews from it. So they're very successful.
All right, for the third time, I'm asking if no more questions. Maybe let me ask this. Are there any questions?
I believe Bruce has a question for Steve.
Bruce has a question for
No,
Steve.
I better do that offline. I don't want to embarrass him.
Nothing ever embarrasses me, but okay.
But I want everybody to know Steve has passed his PhD exams.
Yeah.
And all he needs to do is a thesis, and all he needs to do really is anyway.
Oh, that was some good times. Yes.
So once you get off the beach, we'll talk again.
All right. Thank you all for attending. Okay. Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, good
everyone.
luck. Nice to see the alumni. Good luck, guys.
Bye. Great seeing you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.